Joining me tonight is the Assistant Commissioner in charge of communications at the Ministry of Energy, Dr. Patricia Litho, and also Chichoncho Katabazi Patrick. He's an economist, and also joining me tonight is Honorable Oguzili Dennis, who is a Member of Parliament for Maracha County. Gentlemen and lady, many thanks for joining us tonight. I'll begin with you, Honorable. Look, when you look at the figure that Parliament did rush to pass, that is last week, and what the Auditor General has indicated should be the Umeme buyout today, there's a huge difference. My question is, do you think that Parliament regrets the rush?
I think what we're seeing is a typical case of people and lack of patriots working for the country. Right from when this agreement was crafted to when Umeme would exist, the way everything has been managed does not show we have patriots working for this country. Parliament rushed to make a decision to appropriate and to pass a loan, and yet a clear recommendation was made to halt the process until we get a report from the Auditor General. Ideally, even the Auditor General's report must be discussed. There are several unanswered questions. We are talking about UDCL's readiness to take over. We are talking about what they are supposed to take over. These are questions that are not clear to Ugandans. We are talking about monies Umeme has been paying to UDCL. We are talking about resources Umeme should have paid to the government of Uganda. All these facts are not coming out clearly. But what the Auditor General's report has done is to help us understand that some people wanted to eat money. That's why they were pushing for that exaggerated figure.
All right. Oh, wait. I think I need to, let's go over that one more time. You're saying some people wanted to eat money. Are you saying that some members of Parliament were accomplices to this rush and therefore there were some hidden motives?
I think this whole deal had accomplices, because what would be one's basis for passing something they do not know and have no basis for just fine? We needed facts, and these facts could only be triangulated. We had agencies of government that came out clearly. The ERA, which is a regulatory authority and is responsible for every investment operators make or distributors make. And in this case, they had a clear position which varied from what we wanted to borrow. So what was Parliament's basis for appropriating 100 and something and also moving to borrow without basis?
Right.
You know, we are saving over $70 million from this whole thing, which can build schools, which can give people drinking water, which can do a lot of things. So right. It's time, as a country, we start justifying every decision we make. We cannot, at this point, fail to be rational and call ourselves the legislators who should be scrutinizing and holding government to account.
Right. Patrick, I want to get to you. When you look at how everything has been handled here, right from the start, entry of Umeme to date, the exit looks shabby. What does that say of government? Uncoordinated troops, uncoordinated movement of troops?
There's been a concern about lack of cohesion and coordination in planning systems of government. We normally see that when Parliament is passing supplementary budgets, sometimes for things that otherwise would have been planned beforehand. This Umeme buyout is a classic example of how government generally does not proactively plan and budget. And then here we are at the tail end of the process. When deadlines are looming, we are running up and down trying to fix a problem that we knew long ago. For example, it was quite clear over 5 years ago, that this contract had less chances of being renewed. But we are in the last minutes, the last days of this contract, and we are still talking about buyouts, we are still talking about finances and many other things surrounding it. So it's a clear example of lack of proper coordination and lack of planning.
Right.
But of course,
from an economic perspective, when you look at these figures, do you think that someone is going to benefit from the shabbiness that government has exhibited?
Well, it is difficult to tell at this point in time, and sometimes the way these things end, it is difficult to answer your question. But what is very clear is that last minute or last dash numbers tend to have problems, and it takes so much time to understand the gravity of the problem, or sometimes the inaccuracies that might come through. Because we realize that we started from about $230 million, now it is coming to $1,118 million. So these movements in numbers might actually point to a fact that maybe the numbers could be much lower. So it is possible that there could be elements in these numbers that may ultimately not be appropriate. It could also be that maybe there are some numbers that have been omitted. So it is not a very, very clear picture that one can make a proper analysis from.
Okay, Dr. Litho, I want to come to you. Provide some clarity here. There's a lot of misunderstandings, and the statement from Minister Ruth Nankabirwa earlier today in a tweet did say Umeme is free to petition. Look, we have just a couple of days until we get to 1st April when new EDCL takes over. My question is, what will happen when there's no agreement on the exact figure? Umeme is saying a different figure, government is saying a different figure, and no one has come to the same table to have the two parties be mediated, to have a common figure. What will happen on 1st of April?
On the 1st of April, we shall have UEDCL operating the network. As we said, Umeme is handing over on the 31st of March. And from midnight of that day, we shall have UEDCL taking over to begin with. The contradictions have been there, and we've been discussing this in the last 2 weeks. And the position of government had remained that based on the procedures and also as agreed in Parliament, that the final approval is basically Cabinet approved an amount that Parliament has now approved, but it was subject to Auditor General's final amount. The regulator did guide on a certain position, Umeme made certain claims, but now the person we've all been waiting for has given a position. Why are we contesting? The understanding was that the Auditor General will do its work and give us a final position. A final position has been pronounced. Why are we protesting now? The statement made by the minister was just to emphasize the position of government, because despite the back office arrangements and discussions we've been having, unlike the impression that government is ill prepared, it hasn't been planning, we don't have to come and explain every left turn we make to the public. But there have been ongoing discussions, ongoing preparations. So it's just disappointment that Umeme went ahead and released statements to its shareholders, making certain claims and saying it will not hand over for so many reasons. So the minister, responsible for Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, had to come clear and give government positions on the matter. And also the minister is trying to show that there are always alternative modes of arbitration. Really, Umeme, a company that has almost more than 90% of Ugandans, is the one behaving in a very unpatriotic way. They know their concession has come to an end. There might be some aspects where we have disagreements. Those should be back office matters. Why should you come and antagonize the public? Why should you come and cause anxiety?
All right.
So the minister
Dr. Litho, let me come in here. Let me come in here. Sorry to interrupt you. Umeme did not say that they will not hand over. They only said in their statement they will only hand over after full payment is received. The payment must be made by 31st of March. Full payment to them is $232 million US. Full payment, according to the Auditor General, is less than that, $114 million US. My question is, why are you disagreeing online? Why are you saying that Umeme is not acting patriotic? Why haven't you come on one table to discuss all this as opposed to taking things public?
The assumption is that we've not been on the same table. Like I told you, we've got a GTC, that's a Joint Technical Committee. We have a cabinet level committee. We have a ministerial level committee that has been discussing the handover. The procedures have been known, and we all agreed that we wait for the last position by the Auditor General. So for the Auditor General to give a final position and then Umeme turns around and makes a different claim, a claim that has been verified. It is really unfortunate. That's what I'm saying. They just want to antagonize the public, create unnecessary excitement. Really? Yes.
Let me get to Honorable Oguzili. My question is just briefly, given the dilemma the country is in right now, you know, as a final consumer of electricity, I'm wondering whether you should even now go ahead and buy more yaka to store it. But that question, I'll put it later to Dr. Litho. My question is, what do you suggest should be the best thing to do right now? It looks like there's a lot of panic.
Yeah, there seems to be panic. That's why there's an uncoordinated movement of stakeholders. But one thing is clear, that agreement between Omeme and government provides for dispute resolution, provides mechanisms through which any dispute that arises can be resolved. And that they just need to invoke that. It provides for arbitration. So they can be able to handle any disagreements within that framework. And I do not think the citizens of Uganda should lose unnecessarily in this raw deal. If, as already observed, Omeme has concerns and is disputing those figures,
right,
those figures can be verified because those are investments.
All right.
If the investments in substations, the lines, those lines can be inspected and investigated.
Okay.
Then we're able to say how much they have actually recouped from the investments and what they owe government. They can offset and be able to still arrive at a figure. What the final consumer wants is uninterrupted service, and government must be able to guarantee that as custodian of the people.
Council Katabazi, my question is, when the storm is over, who stands to lose, who stands to gain? Is it government?
Yes, of course, we started from the fact that this is a widely acknowledged raw deal. So from that very perspective, government, the taxpayers, ultimately lose out of this. But there's an advantage that we have learned lessons. We have seen the mistakes. It is expected that we have learned, and arising out of that, going forward, under UEDCL, if lessons are put into proper context and we move according to the way we're supposed to move, I'm sure that the losses that could have been made, the challenges that we could have faced under this concession will definitely be able to be put aside, and gains, of course, start flowing in after UEDCL has taken over. But that is on condition that we have learned lessons very well.
Hopefully. My last question goes to you, Dr. Litho, in just 20 seconds. Where does this leave the final consumer watching this bulletin? What should they do? What do we expect on the 1st of April?
I would like to reassure the consumer to stay the habits they've been doing. If you've been buying yaka per week, please do the same. If you've been buying per month, do the same. As and when you consume, we expect that we shall have a seamless transition in the way the final consumer uses power. So you will be able to access power. If there are any outages, it will be because of some other reason. But in terms of you able to access your units, you retaining your meter number, you retaining your meter, that remains the same. So please, let's just settle down and give us an opportunity to do what needs to be done in this transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Patricia Litho. She's the Assistant Commissioner for Communications at the Ministry of Energy. Thanks to you, gentlemen. That's Honorable Oguzili, Member of Parliament for Maracha County, and to you, Council Patrick Katabazi Choncho, Senior Economist.